Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of Garage Studio Modelers. I'm Dave Forrest, this is my good friend
Harvey Lowe.
And in today's episode we're going to do some more work on the Stug, the winter Stug. And today's work will really focus on doing some more weathering. I think the last episode that we did was really on the whitewash and removing it using the hairspray technique. Now what I've done is I've worked on one side of it, kind of progressed the weathering along. So we'll this is will be based in a winter setting. So I've got some snow. So I've got some snow products here that we're going to be using. And this is the set that comes from MIG that has a little bit of varnish, wet snow, something called wet snow, something called snow binder, and then powdered snow. So it's a pretty nice set, and it has kind of everything you need to make put snow or ice crystals on either on a vehicle or on a diorama. So we'll get into how we use that a little bit later. And then for the mud, I'm going back to my tried, tested and true dark earth from AK. Again, this is a diorama texture paste, but I use it to create mud effects on vehicles to good effect, I think. And then from Dave Brown's episode, I was really intrigued with how he was using the MIG. I think it was the AK asphalt.
Asphalt, yeah.
And it was quite
pretty dark.
Yeah, it was very dark.
Yeah.
Which I kind of liked actually because he lights it up with pigments.
Yeah.
And then Robert brought this Vallejo earth texture, which is a little bit thicker. So maybe this is a good fit or a good option as well if you're looking to create really dark mud. But I really like that effect that Dave had.
This stuff would be thicker than the
this
one
is thicker.
This is thicker.
So the AK stuff seemed to be pretty liquidy.
Yeah.
This is a little bit thicker.
Sometimes you want that texture. It does add that 3D depth rather than just the color
or
itself.
having to do it with like some type of additive or something.
I know that in the past I've added plaster of Paris to them. That's the old way. But I do find when you do that, you kind of get some white leftovers from, unless you mix it very well. And now that these are pre-mixed, it's probably not a bad idea to go with this. These are usually labeled as texture though, right? They're not just, so if there's like some substance to it, it's a texture.
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Now the other thing you have to be a little bit careful of, I know, and it's an issue with this, I don't know about the Vallejo products, but the texture they put in here are like these crystals, and they can sparkle a bit. Right, so not so much an issue for this one because this will be largely wet, right? Because of the setting it's in. But if you're looking to use this in a drier setting, you've got to kind of overcoat. Right. I overcoat with flat earth from Tamiya just to. It's nice. It's a little bit lighter and it kind of knocks back all the shiny bits.
What's the shelf life on these? Have you experienced so far? Because you use these more than I do. What's the shelf life?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think this I've had for about 18 months now.
Oh, okay.
Now, Robert did smart, right, where he put plastic on it to create a better, more secure seal. So well done, Robert. That's a good tip.
Our production.
I don't do that, and I find it does dry out.
That's a good idea.
It does dry out. So I just add water and mix it back in to rehydrate
That's
it.
pretty good. Yeah,
But I think I got to do that.
That's not a bad idea.
That's a great idea, Robert.
Sometimes I put them in Ziploc bags, but this is, I think, better.
Yeah. I mean, I think either would affect it, right?
Very good.
Yeah, so I think we'll probably get right into it. And I think this will probably be the second to last episode on this vehicle, right? The last one will be dealing with all of the. There'll be some stowage, some add-ons. There's the extra track links for armor, both on the front and on the back. So we'll probably, I think, one more episode to do that. But today we'll kind of finish off the weathering today.
Let's get something important out of the way. Stug or Stug? I've heard both.
I think
it's so trivial. I'm just saying.
Stug,
all the same. You know
tomato? I don't know.
Well, I know I'm digressing, but when you hear Japanese aircraft, Ki 84, Ki 32, Nakajima, they a lot of guys pronounce it Ki, which is incorrect. Did you know that? It's Kitai. Ki. Not Ki. Just a little trivia.
Ki.
But anyways, back to this project. Are you...
But Nakajima is not actually... Nakajima is not even the right way.
No.
I was making fun of saying Nakajima, but it's Nakajima.
Nakajima, yeah, that's correct.
That's right.
That's correct.
So there you go. You learned something.
New. For this one, Dave, what unit?
I don't know.
Oh, so you're just choosing...
This is...
Any, right?
Because there's no unit markings on this. They're just crosses.
I see.
But I'm sure, I did I get that, but I haven't.
Because I know you're working on your Tiger now, and that's different.
That's very specific to a unit, Totenkopf.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Very
that's
nice.
different. So I guess we'll probably get right back into it. There's one more thing I need to do. So I've added, and I'll do this on camera here, but I've added some whitewash, because when you remove with the hairspray technique, you can get, you can take off more than you want.
Right.
So what I've done is with some oils, which I'll do on camera here. I've gone back and added up. So I've kind of done it on this side. You see, this is the finished product, and then on camera I'll do it here just to show how you can rebuild up.
You know what I find I do? I take a sponge, and then I dip it in actual paint, and then I redo those bare areas.
You could, yeah.
And then sometimes I change up the color, and then redo it over the other area, so you get a little bit of 3D effect with the chipping.
Yeah.
It's an artistic thing, but it gives you a little bit more layering.
Layers are always good. Layers are always good. Yeah, so I think we'll get right into it. We'll start off with maybe just building up the white. We'll do some mud, and then we'll do a little bit of snow and ice on the other side.
Great.
Okay, so let's start off with building back up some of the whitewash. So I've got some 502 uptoning oil paints here. This particular color is Snow White. That's ABT001. And normally I would dry these out on cardboard just to get rid of some of the linseed oil, but these paints, for whatever reason, are pretty dry already, or dry enough, I would say. But for the sake of getting everything done on camera here, so I just take a little bit of oil paint on a brush, and I'm just building up this particular area here. And I'm just going to put it randomly, just kind of like the dot technique. Bit much. I'm going to get wipe the excess off, and then I'm just going to clean the brush, and then just leave it a little bit moist, and just start working it in. And here's where you can get some real control. You can see that, and some variation on the whitewash. So it's just another lever that you have. Kind of get that controlled, kind of build in, and you can leave. And that's how easy it is. Like it took me all of 15 seconds to do that.
And you're just blending with the brush, right, Dave?
Yeah, yeah. That's all you're doing. Same as you would with any other.
I find also a nice blending tool is not only the brush, but a sponge. A little sponge.
Yeah.
Just hitting the surface with a sponge.
Sure, you could.
But I mean, it's the same effect, right?
It's the same principle, I think.
You have to blend it.
Yeah, you do. There you go. So I'm just going to do some along here. We won't do a whole lot, just because I think once you get the principle of it, it's pretty easy. So again, just kind of adding a little bit. You don't have to add a lot, right? And then maybe I'll add some on the side here. And then up here, so I had the gun shield up, and then that was dumb of me. I was going to snap off, so it eventually did snap off. But it was good because it exposed this area here, so I'm just going to get a little bit more paint.
Talking about breaking things off, I find that even when I build aircraft, I usually leave delicate parts like pitot tubes off. I have a habit of knocking them off.
Yeah, once you knock it off, who knows where it goes,
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So I usually put those on last.
Yeah, that was not smart here. So again, you just get most of the thinner off, and then just start blending it in. was close. Robert's making some fine tuning.
Yes, to the cameras.
Yeah, and it depends what you're, I mean, this is completely what looks good to the eye, as most of this is. I was using that stippling motion.
What brush are you using, Dave?
I don't know, some old Curry's brush.
Yeah, that's what I find is why use a nice sable?
No, for this stuff, you ruin it,
yeah.
you kill it. Save it for painting.
Sure, figures.
Figures or fine details, right?
Yep. I sometimes buy mine from bulk, from places like Michael's, Hobby Lobby. Just buy them in bulk for this type of weathering. You don't need a high quality brush.
No, I have like hundreds of brushes.
Yeah, I find even when they're beat up, they're a little bit better that way.
Yeah. You can create some streaking effects as well with the whitewash, which is nice. So we'll just pick up a little bit more here. And I'll try and create some streaking effects here. I'm just kind of brushing it down. Because this is water-soluble paint, right? So as it got wet, it would run, create little streaks. Like in the words of Mike Rinaldi, no streak is too big or too small. Or actually, I think it was more, it was no streak is too small.
It's about layering too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's a very subtle effect.
Now, there's always ongoing debate on the web, like did it really weather like that? And I would argue that part of this is scale effect. Part of it is an art and a hobby. And, if you were to weather a vehicle like it really looked like in real life...
It might look toy-like.
Yeah. Some guy, they didn't weather like that. Well, it's an art as well. And it's a hobby.
But you've often said this, Harvey. It's like if you have nothing dispels that argument like a picture.
Yes, sure, for sure. Yeah, I had a recent... while you're doing that, I had a recent post on my Facebook site when I finished a 132nd Key 100, and one guy said, well, they didn't chip that way. And I sent like 10 photos of Japanese aircraft chipping paint.
Oh, yeah?
And he still, it's hard to decipher black and white. No, there's metal there.
I saw the pictures. I don't think there's much room for interpretation there.
No, it's clearly chipped metal. They didn't
it depends, right? Depends where it was serving. Some were very chipped.
Yeah.
And others weren't.
Yeah, and the Japanese didn't use primers then.
No.
You wouldn't see a chipped zero at Pearl Harbor, but you sure would at the end of the war.
Yeah, for sure. And that's all. That's the context you gotta take into account, right?
Environmental situation.
Hey, is Sunward open today?
Yeah, there's an idea. we never promote hobby shops, but yeah, we could go to Sunward later, Dave.
Sunward, that might be an idea. I need to pick up some
You know
stuff.
what I think your problem is? I'll tell you what I think you have an addiction to this hobby. I think that's like somebody's, I got to do this. See, you're busy doing something right now, and let's go to a hobby store. You have to finish this for the audience. Anyways, I digress.
I think it's obvious there's an addiction element here. So I think that pretty much does it for the rebuild of the whitewash. So I've done it everywhere else in the vehicle. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't finish here. Let me just finish up here. And then you can use like washes and post shading after to gain to gain more definition and whatnot. But I think that looks good. Okay, so let's get on to the mud. Let's flip this over. Let's clean this one last time. Okay, so let's get the oil paints and the thinner out of the way. Okay, so let's do mud. So I'm gonna go back to my trustworthy dark earth, and the first step is really So first of all, again, this is water soluble. I might take a little bit of just
Now, you know what? While you're using that, to my memory, there is no equivalent of this mud thick texture product that are enamels or oils, right? It's only acrylics, I believe. Right? I don't think there are an equivalent of an oil paste.
I can't remember if the splashes and the textured mud in the MIG line is smaller bottles. I can't remember if that's.
Yes, you're right.
That might be.
But I think most of them are acrylics. Anyways, one of our readers can correct us.
Yeah, so let's get a little bit more water on this.
Now you're just doing that by eye, right?
I'm just doing that by eye. There we go. I think that looks good. So the stuff towards the outside is pretty dry. Okay, so let's just clean off. Okay, so with an old brush, so what we're going to do is we're going to replicate putting the mud and all the running gear that I did on this side already. So you can see here, it hasn't been done. But I've done the rest of the vehicle. I've done underneath, I've done the back, I've done the front. Now I just have to do this side here. So, and this is, you just kind of, we can start off with the road wheels. And I just kind of stipple the mud on. Just working with small quantities at a time. Now this would be a pretty muddy vehicle. And then what I can do is I can adjust it, because again this is water soluble, so I can always kind of...
How long does it take for that stuff to dry, Dave?
Not very long.
I find I use a hairdryer to speed it up when I do that.
Yeah, I don't. By the time I get through one portion of the vehicle, and I'm going to work this into the tracks too, so I'm going to be fairly...
Now, are you only using one color like that, or will you add some other dimensions of colors?
No, I think this will just be the one color.
Yeah.
Maybe as I go through it after with maybe a darker mud color,
right?
Or
right.
Maybe as a bit of a wash,
right? Give it some dimension.
Yeah, give it some dimension and depth. So I'm just kind of working it in, and I'm being fairly liberal. And again, going back to the road wheels, all right, that's why I don't spend a lot of time really being very picky or like masking off the rubber part of the road wheel for painting, because I know it's going to get destroyed in this process. It's going to get pretty covered, I should say. And then, while it's still wet, if I want to take some mud off, I have that option, right? I'll leave this fairly muddy, but I'll take some off there, maybe some off here, just to show a little bit of the underlying color, which in this case is the whitewash. But that's how easy this is. I mean, that's why I'm all about how do you get through this.
Are you gonna apply any airbrushing of the earth to that, or just leave it?
Probably not, because it's going to be pretty wet. So I've done. Let's do this wrong. So again, I'm going to get mud in everywhere. So I like to go in a little bit heavier, make sure you've got the coverage. And then I can work it back. And make sure you get on the inside too. And again, you can always build it up, right? So if you walk away from it, you come back to it, you're not happy with it. You can always build up. You can't take away. Once it's dry, it's set.
Right.
So if you're going to err on the side of going a little bit darker or a little bit heavier than you normally, or a little bit lighter, sorry. And then you can always add to it after. Now you can imagine working or operating in a fairly muddy environment. So the mud. So I'm gonna be a little bit heavier on the mud build up towards the bottom here, right? Because that's where everything would kind of gravity would pull it all down, it would all collect.
I find the trick to mud though is you just don't want to cover everything, right? You want to keep some of the base color showing through. That's what I prefer, anyways. Otherwise, just cover with mud. That's an artistic thing.
Yeah, in this case, I would agree, but in this case, I'm going to cover it.
You're going to cover it
because of just I just think that
because you've got too many mistakes on it. I see.
Yeah, that too. Mud is your friend when it comes to mistakes.
Remember, the trick of a master modeler is how well you hide your mistakes.
That's right. So now what I'm doing, so while it's still wet, so again, you've got to be kind of careful with this stuff because it does, when it dries, it's set. I'm going to use this and kind of make a bit like some streaking effects and almost like a bit of a wash as I kind of work. So I'm operating under the principle that you'd have a fairly good buildup of mud up in the corner and then towards the bottom of the running gear. And this is where you would see, to Harvey's point, you would see the underlying color. There we go, I like that, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to continue. So you see it like very quickly. And I know some people are very, are not comfortable kind of doing that, like they'd rather have all the running gear and the tracks off the vehicle. Which is great if that's an option for your particular build. But in this case, really, I guess I could have, but I don't know, I've gotten pretty comfortable doing everything in situ, as it were. There you go. So now that I'm gonna just do some streaking down, streaking up, just to kind of blend a little bit. So you don't have these. You can see how here there's kind of a harsh demarcation, and I want to really soften that. Find anything interesting over there? Harvey's shopping online. There is.
It's called an addiction. Who wants to go to a hobby store? Mentioned like 5 minutes ago.
Who's at an online hobby store right now?
You can tell, audience, that we're kind of doing this ad lib.
Oh, I love it.
I can multitask, Dave.
Well, we'll do the same. There we go.
Looking good, Dave.
Yeah, it's getting there. Again, very quick, right? I mean, it's pretty
Now,
simple.
if you were to like if you were to, I know you're doing this one for the episode, but how long would it take you to do this step if you were doing a model for, say, a show or the Nationals or something? How long would it take you to do this?
Same,
yeah, because it's pretty easy, right?
It's pretty easy. I mean, maybe I might fuss over things a little bit more if I if I wasn't filming, but yeah, it's roughly the same. It's pretty quick. Now I just look at the other side every now and again just to check for consistency, and I think it's pretty consistent. And then we'll just carry it along. And again, I'm just kind of incorporating the mud everywhere on the tracks as well. Try and take a bit off there. So you see how easy this is? I mean, it's really quite simple. And again, if you're kind of worried, I mean, a great place to test this is on the bottom of the tank.
Yeah, learn that off you.
I'm gonna have to get a finer brush to get in there, but let's finish this first. Now I might have to. So now I'm just gonna incorporate or kind of blend these bits in. So blend up and down, because again, you're just really what you're trying to do is just soften that demarcation between. Maybe what I'll do is like the shock here, the shock absorber, I might get a little bit more mud around. Kind of like I did in the front. And then do some more blending. Now I'm going to have to get a smaller brush. Let's clean this one off. I'm going to have to get a smaller brush to get into here. Same principle. I'm just trying to get in behind the idler here. Because here there would have been a lot of thick mud buildup, right? As there normally is. Because this is the part of the vehicles that, as the vehicle's moving forward, all of the mud tracks up on this side first. And then I can just kind of smooth it over, blend it a little bit wet. And I can try and blend in here as well. There you go. I think that's, I think we're almost done. Again, with this tensioning rod back here, there'd be a little bit more mud around that.
So you are adding some to the underhull, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there you have it. I think that's largely done. So in less than, I mean, I always lose track of time when I'm filming, but how long have we been filming over this part?
25.
25 minutes?
Yes.
So in 25 minutes, you've got all of your mud on one side.
So in about an hour, you have the whole thing done.
Yeah. And I can't, like, I can't sit down for more than really a couple of hours, I would say, when you're really focused on stuff.
Mm.
So, you can set this down, walk away, come back, check it. If you're still happy with it, move on. If you're not, if you want to add some stuff to it.
What's the longest you've been sitting at a bench?
I don't know, maybe 3 hours, maybe?
3?
Maybe?
I think mine is 14.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
14 hours.
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
It's
break
impossible.
for lunch and 14.
I think there's a lot of YouTube videos in there. That's amazing if you can. I can't focus on anything that long.
Well, I have YouTube playing, and I do watch other episodes of The Hobby.
So if that was me, I would have a nap. There would be a sandwich. I'm just going to add a little bit more, just because more stuff would drop around the return rollers. So let me just go back and fix that. But again, that's part of. You step away from it, and you come back to it, and you say, "Hey, I like that effect. I'm going to build that up a little bit more." There we go. So we'll let that dry.
Looks great.
And I think now we'll move on and we'll just spend a couple of minutes doing. I'll show you how to do the snow on this side here. Okay, so now we're gonna just add a little bit of snow onto the running gear on this side here. So again, I'm using these products from MIG. So we've got some glossy varnish to make things look shiny and wet. We've got the snow powder, which looks like this. Right, so it's kind of like not quite the consistency of talcum powder, but a little bit, but it looks a little bit powdery. And then we've got wet snow, which looks more like ice crystals. And then I've got this thing called a binder, snow binder, which you use to mix in and make it, maybe you can make a paste with it so you can apply it. So what I'm going to do, and this is all acrylic based, so I'm going to take some of the snow binder, which really...
He smells it.
You always smell it. So I'm going to use the powdered snow first. So I'm just making a little bit here. So again, the mixing ratio is whatever feels right. I suppose I should have read the instructions for this.
I was going to ask you, he's going on the first time on the first try on camera.
Well, I did try this off camera. So again, I don't want to put too much because the stuff is melting. So I'm just going to work some kind of randomly. So here's the problem. Now it doesn't want to come off. So I think I've got too much snow in there. So let's put... There we go. There we go. So I'm just kind of putting it on the sides here.
Now, are you using any logic as to where you would put that, like how it might reflect real environmental conditions? Are you making any
No.
rationale?
Well, other than our experience in winter here in Toronto,
right.
Which were like where snow would
Right,
kind of build up,
accumulate,
naturally
right.
accumulate.
Right.
But it is kind of melty, so I do want to be, so you don't want to cover it totally. And you got to think of where it would wear off naturally.
Right.
Right? I'll go back and put some up here. So let's try. So now let's get rid of this. Gotta love the water soluble stuff. It's so easy to clean up. So now let's take a bit of this and work with the wet snow. Again, these are more like ice crystals. So I'll work that in, maybe just... And it's hard, to be honest, it's kind of hard to tell what the difference is at this stage. Now let's move on to the next road wheel. There we go. So the same type of thing, just trying to... Where would the snow naturally accumulate?
Now, you're going to put some, how are you going to do the tracks? Are you going to do any on the tracks itself?
Yeah, I mean, I might do something just like this. Like just put some on the track.
Just a bit, right? Because it would wear off.
It would fly off, right? And the track part I haven't quite figured out yet. And again, I think you want to be, like in most cases, less is more.
Right. Right.
Let's go back and pick up some of the powdered snow. It's like a winter wonderland in here. So you're just applying the stuff kind of as you go. And I think once you, like anything, once you work more with it, you kind of get the hang of it, and you understand what looks good. But again, it's all a matter of what looks good to your eye, right? Like anything.
We talked about this before. It's really your eye that you develop your hobby, right?
Yeah.
The paints and the techniques are technical tools.
So you can see there's no rhyme or reason to this. Maybe there should be. There isn't. And I'm just... There, let's do the last road wheel, and then we'll take a step back and see what we've done. And I remember you asking Harvey about, was I going to add another color to the mud? And I guess because of this, you wouldn't really, you'd lose it a bit.
That's true, you would.
So I think I would do everything and then maybe go and do some targeted pin washes where it made sense.
That does make sense. But, I find that I'm taking shortcuts now. Why do all that work and you lose it?
Yeah, you lose it.
You lose
exactly.
it all. Yeah.
As I get older, it's all about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, and getting things done.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, it looks great.
Now, the only thing to do is to come back and get another one of these dollar store plastic shot glasses. is just to go through and add some because this would all be wet, right? So I'm going to make it all wet using gloss varnish. This is acrylic gloss varnish. And that'll help to seal the snow that's there too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you've got this binder thing. So again, if you're going to have melting snow, it's going to be glossy. Yeah, voila.
Beautiful, Dave.
Yeah.
And that was how long? 15 minutes?
That was less. I think 10 minutes, maybe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on doing the rest of the vehicle. Another place that you can practice is on the inner road wheels, which I kind of did back here.
Right.
So you can, because you won't see that as much if you're not comfortable yet enough. I mean, again, the underside and the inner part of the road wheels are a great place to practice. So I think that'll wrap it up for today's episode on the Stug. The next thing, so I'll finish off the snow and the mud offline, and then really the next steps are just kind of the finishing touches, the stowage, the extra track armor, and that's really it. And then that'll be done, and then we'll move on to the next project, which has yet to be determined. So
great.
Anyway, so thanks a lot for hanging out with myself and Harvey today, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Take care.